Hello everyone, I'm Dwayne and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a Quad Cortex tone recreation for the song Little Friend by Nickelback. So this is I know like Nickelback gets a lot of hate, but if you actually go back and listen to their music and not just kind of go along with the Nickelback hate crowd, they have some awesome riffs, and riffs going back years, and it's such a diverse catalog. I will admit, I'm not a huge Nickelback fan, but I mean, I'm an adult. I can appreciate a good riff, and they have some fantastic riffs. The song Little Friend actually is a really good track to kind of do as well, because it's such a simplistic riff, very kind of like Silverchair, Nirvana sort of 90s grunge, basically. I think this album came out in 1996, so it checks out, right? That it's a grungy, simple riff, and in the 90s favorite tuning of Drop D as well. So you can hear that we don't have any amps or anything in there just yet, but we're going to do that. So preempting this as well, before we started, I did actually do some research, and typical 90s stuff, they're using Mesa Boogie triple rectifier amps. I think they still do. They're a Mesa band. Now, it's possible we may not use the Mesa for this. We'll see how we go. We've got the dual rectifier. And I don't know, I just find the Quad Cortex dual rectifier, it's very difficult to to tweak and play around with. So there is there's a big possibility that we may ditch the Mesa and kind of try going with the JSM 800 or something, but I am going to give it a shot, and maybe today's a day where I can actually wrangle it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up Cortex Control, and as always, the thing I like to do is I put a noise gate on there for doing anything high gain, and we're probably just going to dive straight in. So there's going to be two scenes for this as well. At the start, there's this boxy filter effect on the riff. If we play the song, bit of distortion on there. So I can actually hear as well, there's a delay. I've never really listened to the song in headphones before, but there's a delay. You can hear it on the thing. There's a delay on there, so that's really good to know. We will probably put a delay of some kind in. I have no idea what kind. Probably just like a, digital delay or something. Anyway, we'll dive straight in and we'll try putting a dual rectifier in there as our kind of amp choice, and we will configure this eventually to kind of try and get what we want. Now we probably want a cabinet with V30 speakers in there, is my hunch. So we'll look for a 412 just to kind of get it in the vicinity, and maybe we'll go for this Marshall V30. That might do the trick. Now this isn't going to sound particularly great, I don't imagine, just based on my previous experiences with the Mesa, but maybe today's the day. What do we like on the output? It doesn't sound terrible, but it sounds like someone's put a blanket over the top of the amp. So I'm inclined to immediately clean this up with a tube screamer. I might put the tone at 6 for this. And we may set the level to 7. We don't want to push the amp too much, but this might tidy it up a little bit. I don't know if you could hear that, but that really changes things. Like, sounds less flubby, because I guess the tube screamer, people may think of it as like, people instinctively add it in, but they may not know what it's actually doing. It is actually doing some EQ, but it's also acting as a boost. So it gives us a little extra oomph without really kind of, you know, changing the characteristics of the amp too much. For the treble, you may bump that up though, and I'm actually going to tone down the mid to like 4. You know, that kind of rectifier growl kind of has that slight scoopedness to it, and it's the 90s. Like, a lot of people were scooping the heck out of these amps, so. See how that sounds with the master dimed up now. I reckon we probably put the gain up a little bit more as well, just hearing that. It's very noisy, isn't it? I reckon the noise gate needs to come up a little bit more. I guess you don't want to noise gate it too much, because that 90s grunge sound is very much like, you know, messy, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. I'm just thinking now as well, maybe we'll try balancing the high-end clarity a little bit by putting the presence up slightly. We may put that down, but we'll see. That sounds not too bad to me. Let's go and compare to the song. So you can hear, that is pretty much the tone, and I'm actually surprised because I have historically had a bit of an issue with the dual rectifier in the Quad Cortex, and it could be because I don't actually own this amp and have never really played through a real one before, but it's never sounded nice to me, and I've always kind of ditched it, even in instances where a Mesa was like needed for that accurate sound. I've just always found it just doesn't have that nice sound about it. Like, even now I can hear that it's there, but it still bothers me from the perspective, it just doesn't sound nice. I know there is another sort of Mesa on here, like the John 2C one. I may even actually try using this to see if it gets us there. That's way too much gain. For the bass, we probably do want it about 5. This is just for comparison's sake, just to see if this gets us in a little bit of a better ballpark. I'm gonna put the presence down on this. These are weird default settings. Why is the output set to -9? I don't think I set those settings. I think that's how it comes out of the box. That sounds very, what does gain pull even do? Oh. I don't really know this amp that well. It sounds very bright to me, a lot brighter than the dual rectifier. No, it's too bright sounding, the John's 2C. Maybe one of the other ones sounds better, but this sounds more closer. That noise really does bother me though. Anyway, so I can hear there's a delay on there as well. You can hear it when you're listening to the original one. My hunch is digital delay. Maybe a stereo digital delay. See how that sounds. Whoa, turn off the sync. There is a bit of a delay on it when I hear the original. That sounds kind of closer, doesn't it? Maybe slightly too much of the mix. And how do you put the feedback up? That doesn't sound too bad. Let's compare that. We'll do that filter effect at the start as well, where it's clearly very gains but boxed in. Turn the volume down. Cool song. Sounds very Silverchair-y, doesn't it? I can picture Silverchair singing that. We could probably go up a little bit more in the gain as well on this. It's pretty high gain song. I'm just conscious of the fact that too much gain on this amp, it starts to get a bit, it gets a bit messy, and you just kind of want it to have that crunch. Oh, what the heck, 7.5. That delay bothers me a little bit though. What about simple delay? Obviously way too much. I think we're around about the 200 before. Turn the trails off. There is a bit of delay on there, but it doesn't overpower it in the original. That sounds a little bit better to me. Okay, that sounds a little bit closer. We're probably going to do some EQ in here as well. We're going to have to use an EQ for the filter, but one thing I'm going to do just to see if I can clean this up a little bit more is I'm going to add a low high pass filter on there, and we're going to set this one to around about 80, and then for the high cut we're going to do about, I don't know, 10k maybe, just to kind of get rid of any high-end harshness from it. We may even go down to 8, we'll see. See, the problem with this tone is we're kind of comparing it to the studio mix, but obviously the live version is going to be, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm just thinking, maybe if we put a graphic EQ in there, and then we do 80 on the high pass, then we do 10k on the low pass, and then we're going to do about a high mid boost around the 2-3k range of, you know, about 2 decibels or so. Let's just start with 1. I think in the middle there. That kind of gets us in the vicinity of it a little bit. Let's see what we're like on the output level. So we're going to reset that. I reckon we can adjust the output on this. We'll try 2.8. Let's see where we're at. That kind of gives us a little bit more volume on there. So I'm going to see what happens if you put a little bit of overdrive in there as well, just to kind of... Oh, wow, okay. God, this, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong here, but it's very fizzy. I think it's just this amp. I mean, obviously by itself, some guitars just don't sound good. And I'm obviously an amateur doing this, I'm not a professional. So, you know, I could just be lacking the awareness of the characteristics of the Mesa. I just know what sounds good. And I guess in the comparison against the original, it sounds okay. So we've got this filter effect at the start of the song now. You hear? So it's kind of got like this boxed in sound about it. Now I have done this before where, I'm going to add that at the end of the chain. You basically can do it a multitude of different ways. You can use like a parametric and kind of shape it so the middle is more up, and then basically do it that way. Or you can also do like a low-high cut type thing as well, or a graphic 9. For the sake of this one, I might actually do a graphic 9 and set the high pass to around about 300. And then I'll set the low to about 4K. Now I can also hear in, so we're going to turn this off, we're going to assign it to scenes. We're also going to assign, I'm going to turn this off and assign it to scenes, because the beginning is going to be our filter effect, and then the rest of the song is going to be the heavy. So if we go here, we should have, oh, hang on. We turned it off. Okay. High pass can probably come down even more to 250-ish maybe. Maybe put that down to 3. No, I think we could probably go a little bit higher, maybe 3,300. Okay. So that's not quite where we want it, because I can hear it's still a bit too... We can kind of just play around with these until we get it. put the gain. I'm just going to put the gain down a little bit. Put the presence down. It sounds pretty great to me. I might put the tone down on the tube screamer. And drop the level down just a little bit. Okay. I think we're kind of in the vicinity of the sound that we want. There's still a few, I think it's this amp model that I'm just not enjoying. There is a little bit of fizz in there, and I think maybe we could get away with dialing the gain back down on there. And maybe the presence as well. See, that's already cleaned up the fizziness. What does our boxed in sound like now? That doesn't sound too bad. I'm wondering if we can play around with the mic placement actually as well. So we're currently at 4. Let's just play around with that. Actually, before we even do that, what happens if we put the low pass a little bit lower? Oh, that sounds better. I feel like we need to put the bass down a little bit. Okay, let's compare that to the original song again. Sounding a lot better. Just increase the position. I think bringing the position of the mic back a little bit is that's kind of helped to reduce some of the high frequencies that we're hearing for the fizz. When you go further off center or towards the edge of the cone, it reduces like the high-end frequencies that can cause fizz. So I don't usually touch the microphones. I find most of the amp models I don't need to. They just sound great out of the box. But I do find this Mesa needs a little bit of work, hey? I might even put the tone down on the tube screamer. Okay. Now let's compare it again. Filter effects. Normal. Sounds pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy with how that sounds. So this is the intro, which is like the boxed in sort of filter effect. So one thing to remember is we are trying to get the studio sound. I imagine if you found an isolated guitar track for this, it would sound different. Over here, guitar only? No. Maybe an instrumental. No. Okay, no instrumentals or anything. But I can hear we've got that kind of that grungy sound. And then obviously my only sort of critique is maybe it's still a little too much delay. That sounds better. So I'm going to save this as little friend. This will be available on the cloud and I'll link it in the description below. But as you can see, we made very minimal sort of changes. We did have to play around a little bit, obviously, to kind of get the amp to sound good. But it also could just be my hearing and these headphones as well. I imagine depending on what you're listening through, it may sound good or bad. But you can see we kind of did a little boost at the 2K mark of 1.5. That's really the only EQ we did. And obviously the low pass, that was originally 10K. We took it down to close to 8.2K because I just found I needed to kind of, there's a bit of harshness to it that I needed to filter out a little bit more. And I don't know if this is just a characteristic of the amp itself. And also the fact that they didn't use a dual rectifier, they used a triple rectifier. That kind of doesn't help. So we kind of had to do some things, but yeah, I just find the dual rectifier, I find it's a very difficult amp to work with on the Quad Cortex, and I don't know if that's just a skill issue on my part or if it's the amp itself, but we got something good in the end and I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm gonna upload this to the cloud and link it as I said, but yeah, let me know in the comments how you think I went, if it kind of sounded similar or if you think I should have done something a little bit different, because obviously I'm just one guy and I don't necessarily always kind of get it right. It's more like about having fun and it's whatever like sounds good to your ears, right? So yeah, let me know in the comments and happy to take all constructive criticism and feedback as well, because I'm learning as I go. I find I am getting better, but I am limited by my hearing and sometimes I don't always get it right, but it's all about, having fun and whether or not it sounds good to you. And I think this sounds as good as it can be, at least in this kind of little limited window I give myself to make these presets. But yeah, linked in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I try and do this content quite regularly. And if you made it to the end of this video, as always, I thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on another video. See you later.